Mailbag time here on the Broncos Breakdown. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. I'm going to go through 5 questions you guys asked me to discuss on today's show. We're going to talk about if it's playoffs or bust or playoffs or tank kind of season. But before I answer your questions, I want to ask you guys a question. It's about me answering here. So Blues Clues time. We got a mailbag question. But first, how many Broncos games have you been to? If you've been to some games the past couple seasons, I'm sorry, honestly. It's a waste of money to see this team go out and get their ass kicked time and time again. Hopefully that changes, though, in the near future. But let me know. Maybe share a favorite story or something like that, favorite game you've been to, if you've been to a handful. But let me know down in the comment section. With that being said, let's get into our first mailbag question. This one's coming from All Our Broncos 19858. Did I get that right? Yeah. Broncos. Hashtag Broncos, should the Broncos tank for the rest of the season or try to make a push for the playoffs? That's a great question. So in order to answer that question, let's at least look and see where Denver currently stands in the playoff picture. Get your magnoscope out because they are all the way under others at the back of that 5-5 pack right now. They don't have the tiebreaker over Cleveland. Indy's got it for, I think, better record within the AFC. That's how the pecking order goes. So Denver 5-5, they look really far out of it, but look who's 7. It's the Chargers at 5-4. So they're absolutely very, very much in this race. So personally, I think you push for the playoffs. This is one of those kind of life goals where you shoot for the stars, and if you miss, will you still land up in space? So that's how it goes, I think so. But you push for the playoffs. Yeah, you shoot for land on the moon, but you push for the playoffs. If you don't reach it, then all of a sudden you look at where you are in the draft position. But I think overall as a team, you got to win. If you bring losers in, you're never going to grow. Look at the recent teams that continue to be at the front of the draft. The Jags, the Jets, the Lions. It's repetitive. Okay, if you start becoming one of those teams where you just tank anytime shit hits the fan, frankly, you're never going to improve. You push for the playoffs, and if you fall short of that goal, then you look at the draft, and then you look and see where you can get better. But if you just flat out tank, then you're going to have a lot of areas you need to get better, and the draft at one spot most likely cannot fix that. But let's invite you guys in on this question. Make the playoffs or tank for the draft? I'll make this the pinned comment. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down during the ad, reply to the comment, then come back and join the video. Type P for playoffs or T for tank. Next question on the mailbag coming from Jacob Youngblood. Should the Broncos trade or draft a quarterback? If the Broncos trade for a QB, who would be a better fit for the Broncos? Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson? 2 great questions. Let's start by answering the first one. Here is Mel Kiper's latest big board and his top 5 quarterbacks in the 2022 NFL Draft. Number 1 is Kenny Pickett. That's not good for a quarterback draft class to have a 6-year guy who's done great. He's been great in college so far, but if he's the number 1 quarterback, that to me is like a young man, a Walmart Brandon Weeden. That's not a quarterback class you want to pursue. Malik Willis, he's great. He's very athletic, but his decision-making skills are so-so. Matt Corral, he checks a bunch of boxes, but he doesn't exceed in a bunch of boxes. Then you got Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati, a longtime starter for the Bearcats. Again, athletic, but just kind of lacks the pro skills that translate well. And Sam Howell, who has just ruined his draft stock. He was supposed to be probably 1 or 2 in this draft class going into the season, not looking like that. So let's put a pause in the idea of drafting a quarterback, and let's look at trading for a quarterback. How about a trade for Aaron Rodgers? I did this a couple of weeks ago on a video, and here's the mock trade I came up with that, frankly, probably isn't enough. The Broncos get Rodgers, and teams always just toss in a 7th-round pick, so why don't we do that as well? And the Packers get this haul. 2022, this is the upcoming draft, 1st and 2nd, then 2023, 1st and 3rd, along with Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to say this. It's going to require at least 2 first-round picks, if not 3, a handful of 2nd and 3rds and 4th sprinkled in, and a starter. That's what it's going to cost. So Jerry Jeudy is the price of doing business. Green Bay is going to need, with Jordan Love or whatever quarterback they get after Rodgers' departure, they're going to want that quarterback to have good weapons. And Devontae Adams hits free agency, so maybe they don't pay him big bucks to sit around with Jordan Love, so they get Jerry Jeudy to help bring along the next quarterback and title town. So probably not enough, but I think that's a good idea of roughly what it would cost to get Rodgers. How about Russell Wilson? Here's what it would cost to get Russ out of Seattle. You get him for a 2022 first and second, just like Rodgers. 2023 first and third, and this time I have Lloyd Cushenberry, your starting center, going to Seattle. If you remember when the Seahawks traded for Jimmy Graham, remember all that way back when in New Orleans? It cost a starting offensive lineman for Seattle, so I think this time Seattle wants to get one in return to move on from Russ. I don't see any way why Seattle would move on from him unless Russell Wilson pushes their hand and number 3 says, I'm not playing here anymore, trade me or I'm sitting out, which doesn't really seem to fit who we know Russell Wilson is as a player and as a person, but it could happen. Russ has never had less than 9 wins in a season. He's the most winningest quarterback at his point in his career compared to everyone else, so I don't see a big trade coming, but that's what it would cost. Regardless, pick a quarterback. Who would you rather have, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson? Rodgers is better. There's no doubt about that. But Wilson has the age factor, so it kind of gets a little bit of a pretzel in your brain. Personally, I'm leaning Wilson. And it's mostly because of the age factor. Russell's got a handful of years on Rodgers. And also, Rodgers, if he comes to Denver, I'm sure he's going to do great things. But he looks like a guy who's kind of ready to check out from football. Get some of that 420 going and maybe sit back a couple IPAs in the mountains. He doesn't look like, and he's doing great this year, but he looks like he could leave the game at any point and not be super bummed about it. Meanwhile, Russ, when he's hurt, he's talking to Casper the Ghost and his buddies in the huddle, wanting to get out of the field as soon as possible. So I'm going to go with Wilson. Before we get to our other mailbag questions, guys, visit our sportsbook partner, BetUS, where they get you with the 125% deposit bonus for following 2 very simple steps. Go to the link at the bottom of your screen, chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Broncos125, and you're rolling in the dough. And not only are you going to get that 125% deposit bonus, but you are 99% the way there to get a free Denver Broncos jersey. That is right. No hoops to jump through. Nothing crazy here. Not an infomercial. All you got to do is go to the link and the promo code, deposit $100, get that 125% deposit bonus. Email us, jersey@chatsports.com. Take a picture or a screenshot of the slide. That way you don't forget. And then all we need from you is your BetUS account number, along with a screenshot of your first bet. And most importantly, do you want a Jerry Jeudy jersey? What color do you want it in? What size do you want it in? Not Jeudy? Fine. How about the other side of the ball? How about Bradley Chubb? Whatever jersey you want between those two, whatever size, whatever color, just email us, jersey@chatsports.com. I had this all in the link, in the comments and the description of this video, so you don't forget. Get a free jersey this holiday season on us here at Chat Sports. On to question number 3 of this mailbag. This one's a bit longer, so I condensed it, but appreciate the question, Michael. With a few changes, this team can go to the Super Bowl as early as next year. I love your confidence. With the right guy throwing the ball, Peyton has been handcuffed this year, but next year it's his team. Broncos country, don't fret about winning this year. The table is set for next year. He's right on a couple things here. The table is absolutely set if you have the right quarterback. This is simply the day and age the Broncos and really the NFL lives in. It is all about who is under center. I think the days of a Joe Flacco or a Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl are behind us. Foles was recent, but still, it is tough to envision any kind of not top-tier quarterback winning a Super Bowl. But the Broncos roster has tons of talent on it, and that's, I think, what Michael's getting at here. This roster was supposed to feature a team that would have a much better record than 5-5 at this point of the season, which I know kind of sounds like a bit of a whiny thing to say given where this team was last year, but I think people are upset because they know what this team is capable of, and losing 30-13 at home against a below 500 Eagles team is not living up to expectations. So I think this team is rostered. But you're right, Michael. I think maybe next year's a bit of a stretch. But anyway, it's the NFL. Teams come out of nowhere. Remember the 49ers? Not that long ago, went to the Super Bowl after the year before and not looking like a Super Bowl team whatsoever. So crazier things have happened. Broncos fans, if you have not subscribed already to the channel, come join the channel. Join the family. Subscribe today because the bye week's fun and all because you get to kind of give your brain a break. But then when the weekend rolls around, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, this is kind of boring because there's no game on Sunday to watch. So the week is almost over. Week 11 coming around the corner. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel today. That way when the Chargers game rolls around, you are hooked up for the recap and everything above and surrounding it. So subscribe right now. Brennan Huff, how about this one here? Coming in, question number 4 on the mailbag. Thoughts on drafting Evan Neal out of Bama? I know he's probably a left tackle, but he'd lock down the other side and could replace Bowles if needed. That's a good thought. My first thought is, will Evan Neal be where the Broncos are when they're on the clock? Evan Neal looks to me like a top 5 to 7, 8 pick. He's the number 1 offensive lineman for sure. I don't know if he's going to fall to Denver, and I think Denver's probably going to be in that 12 to 18 range as things are going right now. But here's the offensive line for the Broncos. Yeah, Bowles and Neal would be awesome. You raised a great point. Neal's been a left tackle. College players can move around. Offensive line's funny. Some players have major tendencies and don't translate well at other spots. Some do. Some are fine playing that swing position, whether it's the tackle or the guard. But a Bowles-Neal offensive line would be awesome for whoever's under center next year for the Broncos. So, yeah, if he's still there when the Broncos are drafting, hell yeah, I am in. I am all about drafting quality over need. If there is a player on your big board that you think is a surefire pick, even if you don't 100% need that spot, take him. You'll thank yourself later. Let the other things work themselves out. Don't reach on a corner just because you need a corner when there's a great offensive lineman there or a defensive tackle, whatever it may be for whatever team you're talking about. Take quality over need. That's at least my draft philosophy. But what do I know? I'm not a GM or anything. Finally, question number 5. Coach Randy, who is the most promising building block for Denver right now? Ooh. That's a great question. Probably my favorite one I've seen yet. I'm going to go Jerry Jeudy, just barely, though. So a couple other honorable mentions really quickly. Pat Surtain would make a ton of sense. I just don't know if a corner is a building block in this day and age in the NFL. There's a lot of great corners out there. Looking at Jalen Ramsey, he was great in Jacksonville. Didn't really mean the team got a lot of wins. Darrelle Revis back with the Jets. At his prime, in the Jets' prime, they were winning playoff games over the Patriots. Well, at least a playoff game. But down the stretch, you kind of learned you can't build around a corner. Nadimi Asamoah went to the Raiders, went to the Eagles. So I don't know. I just don't know if corners are build-worthy. Javonte Williams, another player, just a running back in this day and age, is kind of a dime a dozen. No matter how special they are, how great they look on the field, you can see how quickly they can be replaced. So I'll go Jeudy, barely in his career so far. He's been fun to watch. And what's interesting is when he's been on the field, so far Jeudy has played in 20 games through a season and change as he's missed some time here and there. But north of 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's shown that he is not just a flash in the pan, chuck it deep to him once or twice a game and he comes up with a big catch. He can be an every down kind of wide receiver and make great plays across the field. He's not just 20-yard line to 20-yard line. He can play at any yard line, any down. He is such a complete wide receiver that when he's healthy and when he's on the field, if there's no ankle injury in week 1 against the Giants, I think this season's actually going a very different direction. He helps a ton offensively. But let's get you guys involved in this conversation. Who do you think is the biggest building block for Denver? If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. If you agree with me, why don't you go spam Jeudy down below. We'll see you guys later here on the Broncos Breakdown.